Usually with a walk-off win, the story of the game is the walk-off. But in this game, the story of the game is Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Yamamoto, Yamamoto, Yamamoto.
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, Dodger fans, this is Locked On Dodgers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks to our everydayers for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen, and thanks for being here live with us on Tuesday evening. If you are, remember this show is free and available on all podcast platforms and on YouTube simply by searching for Locked On Dodgers. So please subscribe wherever you're watching or listening right now. If this is your first time with us, I am Jeff Snider. That's Vince Samperio. Vince and I are both lifelong Dodger fans, just like most of you. We've also both spent time covering the Dodgers in the press box and the locker room. So we bring you the smart fans perspective on our boys in blue every weekday morning. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. And Vince, like I said, the Dodgers won in a walk-off. It wasn't without drama. They could have won it in regulation, but Tanner Scott came in and gave up a game-tying homer in the ninth. We will talk about whether he was the right choice to be in that situation in the second segment. And we'll talk about the decisions the Dodgers are kind of forced to make with their pitching because they are so depleted and who might be coming back and when. We'll dig into that in the third segment. But like I said, this lead, the first segment has to be about Yoshinobu Yamamoto. He went 7 innings, allowed 1 hit, no runs. Absolutely dominant in a game where there's no such thing as a must-win game in May, but the Dodgers had lost 4 in a row. They needed a performance from their starting pitcher. They needed their ace to do ace things, and Yoshinobu Yamamoto said, I am that ace.
They needed, a Kershaw, a vintage Kershaw outing, and that's what they got essentially with the 7 innings and 9 strikeouts, and it was exactly what this team needed. Kershaw was known as the stopper back in his days when he was the Dodgers ace, and Yamamoto has come to be that this year, even though the last couple starts weren't as great as he would have wanted them to be. But yeah, it was not the most efficient. Obviously, I know Dave Roberts was very happy once Ketel Marte got that hit because he wouldn't have to pull a guy out of a no-hitter because there was no way he was going to be able to get through that the rest of that game. But the 9 strikeouts, it got the job done. Yeah,
Yamamoto set a career high in pitches thrown to get through the 7 innings. And obviously that 7th inning had extra pitches because he did allow a couple base runners, but bore down when he needed to. And just, we talk about it a lot with Yamamoto. The command is so fun to watch, just watching him dot. And Or Hirsch, I was talking about it a little bit during the game, that even on a 3-2 pitch, Will Smith is setting his target on the corner. Like, it's not just, okay, just throw us a strike here so you don't walk him. It's you still make your pitch. And he did end up walking 2 guys, Yamamoto did. But 3 base runners in 7 innings, pretty darn good. And just the confidence that he has in his stuff. The curveball looked awesome tonight. The splitter was solid. The fastball was good. The command was excellent. He is one of the most fun pitchers to watch because of that command, just doing exactly what he wants to do so often.
You go back and look at all the strikeout pitches from this game, and yeah, everything's on the corner. Everything's right below the zone or right in the zone or starts in the zone. It's just so fun to watch. And then, it's one of those things where, yes, you could say this about a lot of pitchers. When they have command, they're very, very good. But I think when Yamamoto has command, he's a top 3 pitcher in the game. When he can put the ball where he wants to, the way he can move it around, combined with, the velocity that he does have and everything else, he's one of the best pitchers in baseball and, at times could be the best pitcher in baseball. And when he's not commanding things, he's still able to go out there and get enough, give you enough. And we've seen that maybe not the last outing, that was 6-3, but the outing before that, not the greatest, but it's still fun to watch when he's going. And this was one of those nights where you wanted to keep seeing him pitch just for the simple fact of it's so fun to watch.
Yeah, after Tanner Scott blew the save, my brother texted me and said, Yamamoto's going to win the Cy Young Award with like 9 wins this year. and kind of taking the Felix Hernandez route. He's 5-3. Like it's crazy that Yamamoto is 5-3 with a 1.86 ERA. Best pitcher in the National League, and it's why.
Yeah, I think I saw what his the amount of runs he's got was like 2 point something heading into this game, and they went down because he just got 1 run this game.
Yeah, and he's in his starts now. They've scored 8 runs in one game and 9 runs in one game, and this is total in the game. Stephen Nelson was talking about runs scored while he's in the game, which is very important. The stress on him, but 8 runs and 9 runs in 2 games. They won 8-5, and they won his last start against the A's 9-3. But the other games, you just look. Here's Dodgers won 4-1. They won 8-5. They lost 3-2. They won 3-0. Won 3-0. Lost 3-0. Won 2-1. Lost 5-3. Won 9-3. Like so many times, they just aren't scoring many runs for him, and maybe that's also what makes you an ace, I guess. At least for these Dodgers, is not getting run support. We've seen it over the years with Kershaw. We've seen it with Zach Greinke back in the past. We saw it with who was it, Hyun-Jin Ryu a couple years ago that couldn't get run support. It's just and
sometimes it's because you're facing the other team's ace. That was not the case in this game. It was just
early in the season. Sometimes it is. The schedules line up. It's like, oh, he's always going up against the other team's ace. Like you said, this was Ryan Nelson, and the Dodgers were hitting the ball hard. They had like 8 outs that had expected batting average of at least 400 and turned into outs, including one that had an expected batting average of 900. It was an out. A 760 expected batting average double play. There's some bad luck there. And the good news is, because there's no explanation for it, it's not like they decide, oh, we're going to hit worse. With Kershaw, at least, sometimes it was, oh, it's because Austin Barnes is catching, so they have less offense. This is it's just random, fluky, which means they're just as likely, just like they scored 9 runs last time Yamamoto pitched, they're just likely to score 9 runs next time he pitched. But so far this year, it has been rough, but he has been up to the task.
Yeah, and it was one of those where this game, I think with the day off, they do know he's going to get that full extra day of rest that they've had him on at the beginning of the season. And I would imagine that's why they pushed him in. This was the time where, I've been advocating for Roberts to kind of push the starters a little bit, especially considering now what they have and everything else. And that's what they did here. Like you push him a little bit. Obviously, the no-hitter helped that a little bit, I would imagine. You knew he wasn't going the whole game, but you knew that you could get him to go another inning, and that's what we had here. And it's not always going to work out. Maybe he would have gave up another hit. Maybe he would have gave up another, something else, and it would have not worked out. But at this point specific, especially, you got to let guys kind of push that thing a little bit.
And it definitely would have been nice if the offense could have scored a few runs for him, give him a little breathing room. And I'm in an alternate universe, the Dodgers put up 3 runs, not a bunch, but 3. And so the home run that Tanner Scott allows in the 9th inning is meaningless. And Yoshinobu Yamamoto gets the win, and that's all we're talking about is just that. Unfortunately, Dodgers only scored the 1 run in regulation. And so when Tanner Scott came in, there was no wiggle room. And he gave up the home run, and it tied the game, sent it to extra innings. And, I saw a lot of talk, Vince, about should they have just left Ben Kasparias in. Kasparias came in the 8th inning to get out of a tough jam, only threw a handful of pitches. Should they have left him in? Was Tanner Scott the right call? We will dig into that next. So thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen, and please keep it Locked On Dodgers. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Do you ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track, and that's where Monarch Money comes in. It is your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances, because Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. I don't know how many accounts you guys have. I've got multiple bank accounts. I've got a mortgage. I've got car loans. I've got investments, all these things that you have a separate login for. Monarch Money lets you bring them all together so you can log into one place and look, and you can see a big picture of how your money's doing, what your money's doing, where your money's going, especially if you have a partner or a spouse who you're sharing accounts with, or even have separate accounts. Managing your money with your partner is smoother than ever because you can track shared and personal accounts. You can set goals together and stay on the same page without the stress. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. Hey, we are back. Thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen every weekday morning. Thanks for being an everydayer if you are. If you're not an everydayer, it's easy to become one. Just watch or listen every weekday morning. And then abracadabra, you are an everydayer. We appreciate those of you who are with us live here on Tuesday night. I know it's a late one. Vince was at Dodger Stadium for this game. And as you may have heard, the Dodger Stadium parking lot is sometimes a little bit of a bear to get out of. But here we are talking. If you're not a Locked On Dodgers insider, you should go beyond the podcast and become a Locked On Dodgers insider by going to joinsubtext.com/LockedOnDodgers. Get text from us with news throughout the day, to have one-on-one conversation with us, and get access to our exclusive insider Discord server where we are talking Dodgers, having a lot of fun over there. A lot of smart Dodger fans in that group. So join that group and have a lot of fun with us. And for your second listen, be sure to check out Locked On MLB, hosted by our buddy Paul Francis Sullivan, a.k.a. Sully. So Ben Casparius, well, Alex Vesia had to pitch the eighth inning. The Dodgers were trying to stay away from Ben Casparius in this game. He just pitched 2 1/3 innings a couple days ago. Wanted to give him one more day of rest. Alex Vesia, though, his season-long struggles continue. He ended up loading up the bases with 2 outs. They had the tying run on third base with nobody out.
I think 1 out in the ground.
They got the pop-up for the first out, right? Was it already first and third? I think I can't remember for sure. I think it was a leadoff double and then the bunt single.
Double and bunt single.
Bunt single. So yeah, the tying run on third base with nobody out. He got a pop-up, gets the second out. They intentionally walk Marte. And then at that point, there's no way that you can leave Vesia in to face Gurriel. So they went to Ben Casparius, and he got out of it. He did awesome. He struck out Gurriel on a full count pitch. It was only a full count because of a pitch clock violation that was kind of wonky. All in all, Casparius threw 6 pitches to Gurriel, gets out of the inning. Huge moment in the game to keep the Dodgers up 1-0. And after Tanner Scott gave up the game-tying homer in the 9th inning, I saw a lot of people saying, why didn't they just leave Casparius in? Didn't see as many people saying it beforehand. In the moment, Vince, did you have any thoughts of Casparius should finish this game?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I definitely did think that Casparius should have finished the game. I didn't remember that he threw 37 pitches on the 17th, and today's the 20th. So, no, the first reaction was not based on what's going on. Even then, I'm still, I'm not 100% against leaving him in. The thing is, just like, I don't know what the plan is with Casparius. Are they trying to make him more of a reliever in the sense of going back-to-back days or every other day or stuff like that? Or they want to keep him a little bit more as a multi-inning guy? It's because Tanner Scott hadn't thrown in a while. Tanner Scott would have a day off on Thursday. He could have thrown, Tuesday and Wednesday, and they would have been fine. But once Casparius is there, you kind of want to see if you could steal the game with him in there and not using Tanner Scott, and maybe have Tanner Scott in a little bit bigger role on Wednesday. But yeah, ultimately I understand after I looked like, oh yeah, he just threw 37 pitches.
Yeah. And for me, there's a few things that go into, I thought it was absolutely the right call, to the extent that anything could be a right call in baseball. And that's the thing we've talked about so many times with managerial decisions. There is no right and wrong. Sometimes the right call doesn't work. Sometimes the wrong call does work. And, so trying to decide if it was right or wrong. But, you mentioned Casparius' pitch count just a few days ago. Also, there's the fact that Tanner Scott had thrown 18 pitches in the last 10 days. If anything, they needed to get him in the game so he didn't get rusty. And maybe they were a day too late on that. But also, Tanner Scott, in his last 17 appearances, 16 of them have been scoreless. He has allowed 1 solo home run in his last 17 appearances. That's a 0.54 ERA, 10 base runners in 17 innings, 16 2/3 innings over that time. Just absolutely dominant. His first 4 or 5 games with the Dodgers were rough. The last 17 before tonight have been absolutely dominant. He has been 100% the guy that they signed him to be, which is their closer, and in a game where they were trying to stay away from Kasperius completely to the extent that they brought in Alex Vesia in a 1-run game, it totally made sense to me to, go to your closer, go to your high-paid closer to close out this game. It didn't work out. Also, the other thing is who the D-backs had coming up. They had Josh Naylor and then Gabriel Moreno, who ended up hitting the home run, and then Pavin Smith. Naylor and Smith are both left-handed. Kasperius against lefties this year has a, where is it? 815 OPS allowed against lefties, 418 against righties. Kasperius, for as good as he's been, he has been twice as good against righties as he has been against lefties. Naylor and Smith are both better hitters than Moreno. Yes, Moreno hit the home run. I get it. But 2 of the 3 guys coming up are the 2 best hitters coming up, and they both hit left-handed. Like, I feel like it was, I don't say things are right or wrong very often when it comes to managerial decisions, but this is as close to a right decision as you can get. It just didn't work out because Tanner Scott threw a bad pitch to Gabby Moreno,
Yeah, my initial thought on Kasperius staying in was simply just try to use as least amount of pitchers as possible so you can use a more amount of pitchers in the next game. Again, not factoring in, okay, Tanner Scott hasn't thrown a lot, and Kasperius did throw a lot the other day. So it was just, as simple as that. But yeah, I mean, you go to your closer in the 9th inning in a 1-run game, especially a guy that's been really good lately, especially a guy, like everything you mentioned, facing 2 left-handers out of the 3 hitters in that inning, everything kind of went that way. And even the pitch that was hit for a home run wasn't a bad pitch. I want to say he missed his spot, but 97 in and up and in a little bit, but still in the strike zone. That's a pretty solid pitch.
And you also wonder if he would have thrown a different pitch if the umpire had correctly called the first pitch strike 1 instead of ball 1. But, we won't bring Edwin Moscoso into this podcast, even though more than I just did. Edwin.
Yeah, but Moreno just beat him to the spot. And, and then you have to push him to the next inning because you've already used your 3.
Because the alternative is Anthony Bonda.
Yeah, you use your 3 best relievers already in this game in Kasperius, Vesia, and Tanner Scott. You have Bonda there. Luchavino threw 41 pitches a couple days ago. Like, they didn't Sauer threw yesterday or 2 days ago. They didn't really have anybody left to go. And unfortunately, again, it didn't work out. Like, still 97, the velocity is there. He just, Corbin Carroll's pretty good.
Yeah, and even after all that, Scott's ERA is now up to 2.42 for the year, and that's even with the bad start to the season. Like Tanner Scott, he's still a very good pitcher, and I see a comment in the chat. He's been really good, but he's not God. No, nobody's saying he's not perfect. Every closer blows saves. There's a reason that Eric Gagne's consecutive save streak was such a big deal because every closer blows saves. Mariano Rivera blew saves and was a unanimous selection to the Hall of Fame. Like, everybody blows saves, and unfortunately tonight that happened to Scott. But I really think mostly it's the Dodgers roster situation that put them in this place. They would have loved to have Kirby Yates available and Blake Treinen available, and definitely would have loved to have somebody so that Tanner Scott didn't have to go back out for the 10th after blowing the save in the 9th. But like I said, the alternative was Anthony Bonda, who did eventually. Anthony Bonda is winning pitcher in this game because he got the one guy out who he faced. So good for him. Grab that win that maybe, obviously Yamamoto deserved the win, but the rules say Bonda's the winner.
Yeah. Note here from Mark about Tanner Scott being a rhythm pitcher, needs regular use. I don't know if that's true or not. I haven't followed Tanner Scott that closely, but the good thing or bad thing, depending how you feel about it, is that he's probably going to get a lot more regular use because the Dodgers don't have that many other arms available that are good to pitch a lot of these games.
Yep. And Alex says he's already blown 3 saves, Tanner Scott, a month into the season. Yeah, but he had blown 1 save in his last 17 appearances. It's now he's blown 2 in his last 18 appearances, which is still, on pace for like 6 in a season, which isn't a crazy high number. Tanner Scott is going to be fine. And when you look at the alternatives that the Dodgers had tonight, I just, sending Kasperius back out there for the ninth wouldn't have made sense to me. And I think Dave Roberts would have gotten crucified if Josh Naylor hits the home run off of Ben Kasperius instead of Moreno hitting the home run off of Tanner Scott. If you're going to get beat with your best on the field. And Tanner Scott is paid to close out the game and just didn't get the job done tonight. Sometimes the hitter wins. But we mentioned the Dodgers pitching staff is depleted right now. Saw a tweet today, kind of interesting, with some potential projected return dates for a bunch of pitchers. We're going to dig into those and see what we believe, what we don't, and how much we're looking forward to a bunch of those. So thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen, and please continue to keep it Locked On Dodgers. We are back. Thanks again for making us your first listen. Thanks for being an everydayer. Thanks for being a Locked On Dodgers insider. Remember, go to joinsubtext.com/LockedOnDodgers to become an insider. And let's jump right back in, Vince. Saw an interesting tweet today. There's a Twitter account called Haesung Kim Muse. Has a couple thousand followers. I don't know the story behind the. I see a bunch of tweets from this account over the last month or two, especially the last few weeks since Kim got called up, but kind of ever since the Dodgers signed Kim. But this time, he tweets out estimated return dates for Dodgers pitchers per ESPN. And before I go through these dates, we will note that Vince and I both tried to find where on ESPN this guy found these dates. I haven't been able to find them. If anybody has a link or something, let us know. But these are the dates, according to this guy, that ESPN is listing as potential return dates. Some of them make a little sense. Some of them don't. May 26th, Michael Kopech. That's 5 days away, or 6 days away. May 27th, Roki Sasaki. June 2nd, Kirby Yates. June 5th, Blake Snell. June 13th, Tyler Glasnow. June 16th, Evan Phillips. June 18th, Blake Treinen. July 1st, Emmett Sheehan. And then throws a couple more in the next tweet. May 24th, Edgardo Enriquez. May 31st, Giovanni Gallegos, who's on the minor league IL. September 2nd, Brusdar Graterol and Kyle Hurt. September 18th, River Ryan. I'm kind of in the boat here, Vince, of all the relief pitchers listed. I can see those dates being relatively accurate. The starters, I have no idea, and I don't think anybody else does either.
Yeah, Roki Sasaki hasn't even picked up a baseball again. I don't think
he's not coming back in a week.
He's not coming back in 7 days. Initially, when I saw this, first I was wondering where he came from. Second, I was wondering, is it just like the dates they're eligible to come off the injured list? But that wasn't the case. But yeah, I mean, Michael Kopech, they said he needs like 3 more outings. He can get those 3 outings in the next few days. That'll be a big add to the bullpen, especially considering Ben Kasperius is the number 1 right-hander out of the bullpen, and he's also the number 1 long reliever out of the bullpen. And, he can only be there so much and can only pitch so often. So that's a good one. Kirby Yates, I mean, the fact that it's a leg injury, you're hoping that it's not too bad. Evan Phillips hasn't picked up baseball. It doesn't seem like very great. I don't know how realistic a month is away. Treinen played catch today, so, maybe a month is good for him. But Roberts did say before the game that they expect Glasnow back before Blake Snell, and I don't know when that is, but it seems like June would be a good target date for the Dodgers to get a lot of guys back.
Yeah, the schedule is rough over the first, I think I saw the first 29 days of June. So basically the whole month, the Dodgers have 2 days off. It'd be nice to get some of these guys back. Edgardo Enriquez is an interesting one here. That's 4 days from now. And we have seen him throwing in Arizona. And we talked yesterday or the day before yesterday about how relievers can generally come back more quickly because they don't need to get built up. But Enriquez hasn't done a rehab stint. I doubt he's coming back in 4 days. I think I see him back in a couple weeks. But my main thought when I'm looking at this list is just getting a few of these guys back would be so nice because, like you said, it's Ben Kasperius and Tanner Scott right now. And that's like the extent of the trust tree in the bullpen. And then you got a bunch of guys who, maybe will sometimes put up a good performance for you. Maybe they won't. But having just a handful of other guys, Kopech coming back, we'll see. The rehab outings haven't been great, but rehab outings a lot of times are a lot like spring training, where you don't really look at the results because you don't know what they're working on, all those things. So we won't know what Michael Kopech has until we've seen him a few times in actual big league games. Chances are it will be ugly for the first game or two, but hopefully he will step it up. But yeah, if they had Kopech and Yates and Treinen and Phillips, suddenly this is a much different bullpen. Obviously, the offense is going to have to do more than they did today to save, because this rotation is depleted too. And, it's not like there's not potential there. Dustin May absolutely has the potential to pitch a really good game for us on Wednesday. Also has a potential to get absolutely destroyed by the D-backs. I have no idea what to expect from Dustin May. I have no idea what to expect in Clayton Kershaw's next start. I think I'm confident that Tony Gonsolin's next start will be good. I think I'm confident that Landon Knack's next start will be stressful. But yeah, I mean,
we've been talking about it. We're in a spot right now with this Dodger team of going into every game not knowing what to expect. We're hoping that at the very least the offense is what we can expect, and at least 4 or 5 runs every game would be the low bar setting for them. And it's kind of a thing where it's a pretty big gauntlet going into June and the rest of June in terms of the teams they play. If you can just tread water around 500 for this next month or so, and these guys start coming back slowly but surely, then yeah, you're in a good spot. Ultimately, I think that the rushing and the keeping Ha-Seong Kim, getting rid of Taylor, getting rid of Barnes, I think that was because of what they know with the pitching, because of what they know coming up in the schedule, and they want to maximize as many runs as they can. Now, you got Teo and Edmund back. They both sit in this game. The offense, maybe doesn't go the way it got. You see Edmund come in late in the game and, delivers a big hit to get the Dodgers within a run and, kind of set that inning up. So I do think the offense is going to be better when those guys aren't sitting. Maybe Roberts will try to offset those days off a little bit. But yeah, I mean, we're in a weird spot for the Dodgers right now, pitching wise. And you're just hoping that you get Yamamoto to be Yamamoto and everybody else to at least be as good as a coin flip, at least in the starter realm.
Yeah, the good news is 6 of those games in June are against the Padres, and the Padres, that might help the Dodgers pitching, because Padres have scored 3 runs during their 4-game losing streak. So things could be worse. It's I don't know. I just had to jab the Padres a little bit there, because what do they think this is? The 2024 NLDS not scoring like that? It's yeah, you mentioned those guys, Teoscar and Edmund, both sitting. Obviously, they're both ramping back up from being on the injured list, but also having them available to pinch hit is kind of big, and the fact that who they're pinch hitting for isn't Chris Taylor and Austin Barnes, but actually, Michael Conforto is clearly the weak link right now. At least results wise, I have no idea what to expect from Conforto. I was Kike Hernandez striking out in those 2 big spots there. Like, I understand why you can't pinch hit for Kike, but I sure would have loved to see Dalton Rushing in that spot, against Kevin Ginkel. Ultimately, I mean, Kike put up a better at bat that one than the one before, when he just swung at 4 pitches that were out of the zone. But ultimately, same result, strikeout. But that the rest of the roster has potential to score runs in a game where they only scored 1 run in regulation. Yeah, it would have been really nice to get more runs in this game. But overall, I think this offense is going to get back to scoring some runs pretty soon.
And ultimately, when push came to shove, the offense put up the runs in this game and got the job done. And maybe a little help from Torey Lovullo putting a lot of guys on base for them. But, that's just the way it goes. That's how you set it up. Like, you get base hits, you put the pressure, you get it done. I will say that I had 2 prize picks plays that were contingent on Shohei Ohtani to get a certain number of fantasy score. And after his at-bat in the 8th inning, he was halfway to that score with no possibility of getting it So the extra innings helped me out because he got to the score. So I picked up some money on this.
Oh, I think we have a scandal on our hands. Vince caused this.
Yeah.
What were we talking about? Before you started talking about your prize picks, what did you say right before that?
That's what I said after you were talking about the offense and scoring runs, and I said they did it when push came to shove.
Oh, the intentional walk to Ohtani. Yeah, it's like a cardinal rule that you don't intentionally walk the winning run on base. And so it was kind of fun to see Ohtani score that winning run after being intentionally walked. I get why they did it. But yeah, it's intentionally walking those guys. That's why you build a lineup like this, so that guess what? You intentionally walk me. Guess who's up after me? Mookie Betts. And then you intentionally walk Freddie. Guess who's up after him? Literally the best hitter in baseball with runners in scoring position. And in this case, he was just the best getting hitter. Lean into that. That's what elbow guards are for. It ended up being a fun game. It's a bummer that Yoshinobu Yamamoto didn't get the win. Less bummer because I stopped caring about pitcher wins as a individual stat a long time ago. Wins are a team stat, and the Dodgers team got the win here. But yeah, it would have been fun to see Yamamoto get rewarded for his performance. But walk-offs are fun too. And the Dodgers offense in the 10th inning kind of showed why they're so tough, because they've got a bunch of guys who can do a bunch of things. And once they had Muncy up with one out, like all we need is a fly ball, there was no doubt in my mind that Muncy was going to get that fly ball.
Yeah.
It reminded me of Gavin Stone's first career start when they came up. Muncy comes out with base loaded at the bottom of the ninth. All he needed was a fly ball, and he had a fly ball over the wall in right field.
Yeah.
You were at that game too, right?
I know.
I was there. We were both there. That was fun. Baseball is fun. Dodgers winning is fun. Nice to get back on the winning side of things. Hopefully they can win a series tomorrow behind Dustin May. The bats are going to have to show up against Corbin Burns. But hopefully tonight inspired them and wakes them up and they get going. You got anything else for tonight, Vince?
I know there's a lot of jokes on social media about the Panda Express drought. It's now over, so you can go get your $6 plate tomorrow if you're in SoCal.
Yeah. Go get your Panda. And your
and everything else. I think they got everything.
Jumbo Jack, 13 strikeouts.
Box, nuggets, and they got the stolen base. So you get a hot dog and soda at AM/PM.
Go get yourself 8,000 calories, baby. Yeah. That'll do it for us. Thank you all for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen. Thanks for being here with us live. Good group here. I know it's later than usual. We appreciate you hanging out with us. Lively chat. We appreciate all of that. Thanks for being an everydayer. If you're not an everydayer, just watch or listen every weekday morning, and then you are. You can also go be on the podcast and become a Locked On Dodgers insider by going to joinsubtext.com/LockedOnDodgers. You can also check out the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night, where it covers every game every day with the Locked On host for each team. You can find that on the Locked On MLB YouTube channel or wherever you get podcasts. You can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Locked On Dodgers. Vince is on Twitter at VinceSense91. I'm on Twitter at Snydog. Both of our DMs are open there. You can also email us, lockedondodgers@gmail.com, or send us a voicemail or a text message to 323-863-LOCK, 5625. We are here every weekday morning, and we hope you'll be here with us. When you get in your car or sit on your couch, tell your smart device to play podcast Locked On Dodgers. And remember, you don't have to agree. You just have to listen. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Have a good one.